And it cost me £1 million. It cost me £1 million sterling, not euros, not pesos.
Did you used to play for Barcelona?
Did you not? Were you not aware of it?
No, I was.
Yeah.
I forgot. I didn't
Well, I must mention it more frequently
right.
then.
There is not a better feeling in the world, whatever you do, than scoring a goal.
3-4 years ago, I thought you was a moody bastard. Do you know what I mean?
Hello and welcome to The Rest is Football. I'm Gary Lineker and I'm joined by my two favourite co-hosts, the only two I've got on this, obviously, Alan Shearer and Micah Richards. Now, before we get started in answering your questions, we have a special one from a certain Will Shearer, who wants to know what happened to his dad's trainers. Would you care to elaborate, Alan?
Oh, I had to eat a bit of humble pie yesterday when I got back to the car after my blowing my top when to my son. He actually didn't nick my trainers; they're in the back of my boot. So yeah, I got to the tennis tournament and I had to give him a big fat apology. Luckily, I didn't have to run around in my new trainers, so I've got no blisters, but I am so stiff this morning.
How did you get on, Alan?
Move. I got to the quarterfinals and got dumped out of the quarterfinals. So
how many people were in it? 8?
No, there was loads of people. There was loads of people in it. The quality just got better at each round, and I got found out. I just get. There's nothing to it at all. I just get it over the net tennis. That's all that mattered. But I got dumped out in the quarterfinals. But I'm so sore this morning.
Andy Murray beat you.
Andy Murray, yeah.
How was your day off, Micah? Bank holiday Monday?
Oh, there was Leeds Carnival going on, so I was debating whether I go down there and hold a couple of wides, you know what I mean, guy? But no, I decided to stay home.
Big Meeks never went to the rave.
Can't believe it.
I'm older now. I'm mature now.
Any chance of acting it then?
Right, let's get cracking. We've got lots of questions to get through. Once again, a huge thank you. Let's start with Oliver Tudge. How much thought did you give to your celebrations, and what is the worst celebration you have seen?
Honest to God, let me go first because Alan Shearer's celebration is the worst I've ever seen.
Well, you've seen it 422 times.
It's shocking. I mean, no, seriously, Alan, seriously. So, like, all them goals, you couldn't come up with something. All you did is basically put your hand up like that. And then there was a one where there was 2 hands. I mean, it was so basic.
What's up with you, Micah Richards? It's unique. It's very different. It was there. It was everyone, just the one arm. There's no, I mean, I couldn't do any somersaults. I'd have been out injured for 6 months and all that rubbish. Just run away the arm in the air. Simple, effective.
What about the comedian who did the celebration in slow motion?
How good was that?
Shall I try and do your
Go on,
celebration
do it, Micah.
in slow
Go on,
motion?
Micah, in slow motion.
Okay.
It looks as if you're sitting on the toilet.
I don't think I need to explain what that was. But in Alan's, defence on this, I will say that his celebration eventually became an emoji.
Yeah.
Didn't it? Which you use on every...
All the time.
All the time.
It. Nothing to do with me, by the way. I didn't suggest that. I loved it when it came up, so I use it all the time, yeah.
Was the emoji bold as well? Because I don't think the emoji is
You
bold.
can create your own one, though, Micah, if you want.
Yeah. Get your little bold emoji. Right, let's move on. Which current Premier League manager would all three of you love to have played under? Not necessarily the club they manage, but the manager himself. And he says, you can't say Pep because that's too easy. But I think we probably all would have said Pep. I'll go first with to Jurgen Klopp. I think he'd be a great manager to play for. Dynamic football, create loads of chances, and from a selfish perspective, which is always the case for any centre forward, I think I would have liked that.
I'll probably go Pochettino.
Just going to say that myself.
He's very good at developing young players. Okay, he's not won anything. He didn't win anything with Spurs, but I just believe he's a man manager as well. He'll put your arm around you. And I think
you need that, Alan. A little bit of love, a little bit of affection.
Micah does. I was, as you know, I spoke to him at length last week, and I was so impressed with him. And I totally get and understand. And I've spoken to one or two Spurs players, Harry included, in terms of how he looks after you, how he protects you, how he wants to be involved in not just your football career, but your life, and how he wants to sort of look after you. I just think as a manager, man manager, I was really impressed, and I came out thinking, I totally get why players would run through a brick wall for him.
Brilliant. One from Joseph Hernan. After Sunday's game, who should start up top for Liverpool? Gakpo drops deep and plays that Bobby role really well. Jota does that, but not as effective, and gets into the box more. And the Nunez is just a beast and is a goal scorer, almost a proper number 9. So, well, I think after Sunday's performance, I think we'd all start with Nunez up front, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely would. I would have started with him last season as well, persisted with him, because when he was at Benfica, he was dynamic, but most of his runs were down the left-hand channel. So I thought, okay, how's he going to fare like playing sort of as a number 9 and going into that left-hand space? But Diaz is quality, and Salah's always going to get you goals. So I don't understand why Nunez has not been given more of a run in the team.
Where do you play Salah though? If you're playing Salah
on the right, Salah on the right,
and then who down the middle?
Diaz on the left, and Nunez up front. And the good thing about that is Diaz is right-footed, so he can go either way, he can drive inside, and Nunez can still make them runs down the left-hand channel. So I think the balance could be right.
I would agree with that. I mean, there's no way he can't play after what he did at the weekend. He's got to be back in the starting 11, hasn't he? He was deadly when he came on. I mean, I know Harvey Elliott and Jota did really well when they came on, but those two finishes were just sensational. So he has to start. Then it's up to him. I mean, he can't miss as many chances as he did last season. You would think and hope that this has to kickstart his Liverpool career again, doesn't it?
I think so. I really expect him to start. It's interesting though. Sometimes players react better to being what they call now an impact sub, don't they? Which leads me to another question, actually, from Andy Foz Footy. Who is the best impact sub that you ever played with?
Oh, impact sub I ever played with.
If they were that good, they wouldn't be on the bench, would they? That's
what I think it's tough. It's tough though, Gary, because when we was at Man City, we had Balotelli, Dzeko, Tevez, and Aguero. They all can't play, and we played sometimes one up front and sometimes two. More often than not, it was Tevez and Aguero until Tevez decided to go on a golfing trip for 6 months. But do you remember that? Do you remember that Tevez going away?
Yeah, what was that? What happened there?
Do you remember we was away against Bayern Munich in the Champions League, and Tevez was on the bench in that game, and Mancini told him to go warm up, and Tevez had been warming up like multiple times, and then Tevez sat down like, I'm ready to go on if needed, and Mancini told him to go warm up again, and he's like, I'm warm. so it's like, Tevez is like, seriously, I'm fine to go on. Then Mancini, he was so hot-headed. He was just like, and I was right back. So I heard absolutely everything. It's like, Destiny Cazzo, you would never play with me again. And went to the changing room afterwards. And honestly, it was like a Royal Rumble fight where like, Mancini's trying to get to Tevez. Tevez is saying, F off, like, and then you got company trying to calm everyone down. And then like, you see who's really your friend when someone like that goes on.
Who side were you on, Big Meeks?
You know what? I was on the side of Mancini because I wanted to play, to be honest.
Some teammate you were, yeah.
How embarrassing is
Creeping
that?
round the manager. I'm on your side, boss.
The best super sub was David Fairclough at
Yeah,
Liverpool.
famously,
Wasn't it,
he originated the name, I believe, super sub. Yeah,
He always scored when he came on. You heard him, Micah?
No, go on. I've heard of him, but I've not heard. Go on, tell me a little bit about
that's where it sort of came from with him, because whenever he came on, he always did something. He always scored a goal. So that's where the super sub came from, because he hardly ever, he didn't start a lot of the time. And that was his job, basically, come on and score. And most of the times he did.
Fantastic. I've got a question from James Peter, who I presume is a West Ham fan. He says, there was quite a lot of negativity going into the season around West Ham. Seems to me that they've spent the Rice, Gamaka, Vlasic money really well and look a much better balanced and more competitive squad than last year. Top half rather than mid-table finish?
No, I'd still have them in and around mid-table.
Well, top half can be mid-table.
9, 10, 11, 9,
yeah.
10, 11, something like that. I would think.
They've had a really good start. They played counter-attacking football at the weekend that worked against Brighton. Yeah,
they've and I think away from home, that's what they're going to do. That's how David will set them up, David Moyes, and they look together, which is certainly one thing. I mean, we were a bit concerned early on, weren't we, when they hadn't made any signings or spent any money, and there's still a few days left, so I would think they would get another one or two in as well. But they've had a decent start.
I think the signings have been excellent. I think Ward-Prowse, with his delivery and his ready-made. So when you bring in players to a West Ham or a Brighton or Southampton when they was in the Prem, they always had a way of trying to have a different strategy, that bringing in players that not everyone knew about and that they could develop them and potentially try sell them on. But getting Ward-Prowse in, who's ready-made, can take set pieces, works hard, getting Kudos in from Ajax. And we've seen Alvarez play the other day. He could play centre-half and he could play centre-mid. And no one's talking about Rice anymore. I think it was better for the team moving forward because they were so reliant on just one player. I think the signings have been excellent.
I wouldn't disagree with that at all. Right, one from Matt Corder. If all three of you could bottle up a feeling from your career to relive, which moment would that be?
Ooh, good question.
I think I'd actually go for the game where I didn't score and missed a penalty, or should I say it was brilliantly saved. The FA Cup final win with Tottenham in 1991. Having lost in the All Merseyside Cup final in 86, when I did score the opening goal and thought, I might end up scoring the only goal in an FA Cup final, and ended up losing 3-1. I was so desperate to win it. It was kind of towards the end of my career as well, having never really won anything in English football. So that was absolutely magical.
Go on, Micah.
Well, for me, there's parts I'd like to bottle up, and there's parts I'd like to bottle up and throw in the sea, to be honest. QPR game, last game of the season. Oh,
yes.
3-2.
Nothing beats that, I would imagine.
And it was just an amazing day. The highs, the lows, the everything. But it started the day before. So Mancini was superstitious, and we've gone on a run where we were winning all our games. I remember winning up 2-0 at Newcastle. Yaya Toure scored both goals. And all we had to do was beat QPR at home. And I'm thinking am I going to be starting all through the season? I was Mancini's guy, you know?
Well, I'm not surprised. You creep all over him all the time, the sounds of it.
Yes, Roberto. No, Roberto.
The day of the game, I've never been through so many emotions in my life. So we get called into the room. We have our pre-match or whatever. And then we go into the room where he's writing the team. And I'm always a second player if I'm going to get picked, because when you write on the board, it's always a goalkeeper, and then you start with the right back. He's wrote in Joe Hart. and I've never watched someone so closely. What letter he's gonna write? So
P.
if he starts on the left, it means he's gonna write a Z or a Z and go straight across. If he starts in the middle or at the end and goes down first, it's gonna write an R for Richards. And what did he do? He goes across like that. Zabaleta. Honestly,
He's had some impact on your career, Zabaleta, hasn't he?
He's had some impact on my life, and I just thought, this. I was going in there. I was shocking in the warm-up. I didn't do the warm-up properly. I was doing like skills, which I have no skills. So basically, I was just kicking the ball up and have it is what I was doing. And then
did you not go back in and say, Mr. Mancini, I really respect your decision. You're such a great coach.
But Mancini, the thing is, though, he wouldn't even make eye contact with me because he knew what he'd done. And what happens into the game? What happens? Zabaleta scores the first goal.
Did you cheer and jump up off the bench?
Did I cheer?
Gary, you know what? We need to get the video of him sat there.
I know, sat there.
I've never been so angry in all my life. And then fast forward, obviously, they score again. And I always think Mancini always used to start with a 4 and then go to a 5. But he was chasing the game. So even more, I know I'm not going to get on the pitch because he needs to put attacking players on there. And then QPR score, my feelings change. All right, it's not about me, it's about the team. Then they score again, and all my feelings about myself just went out the window. It was about the team then. Then Dzeko comes and scores, and then Aguero scores. And it was just like I was in paradise. It was like everything was in slow motion. It was jubilation. It was disappointment.
We thought that when we saw you play.
Gary, can you imagine being bombed out for the biggest and best moment in Premier League history?
That's what I mean. I can't sleep. You know what pisses me off more than anything? Oh, what was it like to play in that QPR game?
You've got over it then.
No, I've not fucking got over it.
Right. Go on, Alan.
Well, you've heard about the goals, so I'm not going to say that. I think that Euro 96 was... I know it wasn't a great ending, but that month was just magical. The team spirit, Terry Venables, the atmosphere, Holland and Scotland games was magical. So Euro 96 for me, it was just incredible.
Perfect. Let's take a little break. Welcome back to The Rest is Football with me, Gary Lineker, Micah Richards and Alan Shearer. We're answering your questions. I've got a question, actually, and it comes from someone I know, a certain JD, who is a Manchester United fan, and he wants to ask you, Alan, and in fact, he wants to actually tell you something. He went, does Alan know that it's not actually true that Manchester United fans hate him? They really don't.
Go on.
No, that's it. No, there's
Really?
no catch to this.
Oh, I thought there was.
No. He said, if you'd have come to Manchester United, we'd have won more trophies and we'd have been a better team, and we have a bit of fun at your expense, obviously. But they don't hate you.
JD, that your mate JD, he knows his stuff. He knows that they would have gone on to win multiple European Cups. No, that's nice.
I've got one from Ben Miller. What's your favourite goal you've ever scored? Micah, that's a lot easier for you.
Yeah. Cheers, Gary. It was on the Let's Go FA Cup. You guys must have been doing the show, was you not? Man City against Villa.
I think we were.
Round of 16. And Joey Barton, we get a corner last minute, all through the game. I'd been hit, I think I hit one off the crossbar, one off the post, and then it was the last minute of the game. Joey Barton lofts one in, and I score against Villa. Bullet header. And that was the goal. Yeah, that's when my life changed after that goal. So I've got to say
that was the bursting on the scene goal.
Exactly, that's exactly what it was.
Alan,
mine has to be No, you've heard it before. My dad's hero
Yes.
was Jackie Milburn.
Yeah.
So, and it has stood for so long, the record at Newcastle. So, the feeling that day for me, coming from Newcastle, scored it at the Gallagher end where I stood as a kid. I wish I could have bottled that feeling up that day because it was just sensational. So, yeah, that day.
Mine would be 1986 and the first goal against Poland in the World Cup, because it changed my life really. I'd gone 5 or 6 games without a goal for England, and we'd started badly in that World Cup, and then everything was on the line against Poland, and it wasn't the greatest goal in the world, but it was a typical poacher's goal, run at the near post, get it in, and after that I scored 2 more, got a hat-trick, which I hate to mention, obviously. And that first goal, though, without that, who knows, we might have been knocked out, that might have never played for England again. I wouldn't have certainly probably gone to Barcelona at the end of the World Cup. My life changed with that goal. And it was the most unbelievable feeling as well, to the first goal in a World Cup.
Isn't it mad, isn't it, how your life can change by scoring 1 goal? It's crazy, isn't it? Like, you just put it in the back of the net, and then from that moment onwards, your life is totally different because of that moment. It's mad, isn't it?
The world's a better place when you're scoring goals.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
No, but can I ask you quickly before we move, how did you lot deal with that fame and fortune? Because, Alan, let's be honest, about 3-4 years ago, I thought you was a moody bastard. Do you know what I mean?
Say what you think, Micah.
You speak the truth, Micah.
But actually, you're actually really funny, really engaging, super nice. So did you sort of have your guard up, is what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I do. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm pretty shy, you know. I'm pretty, when I go into a room full of people, it's like I am pretty shy, and I have got my guard up because you just never know in football. Football's, you know what it's like. But
He'd heard of your reputation, Micah. That was the problem. He was terrified of going on a night out with you or something.
I wish I'd have gone on a few nights out with you, Micah. That's for sure, definitely.
There's still time.
The previous one leads me to this. How did Micah get on with Joey Barton when they shared a dressing room at City, and the same for Alan at Newcastle? Right, this will be interesting.
Well, I was the manager at Newcastle only for 8 games. And Joey Barton was injured for the first 4 games. So 4 games left. He said to me the weekend before, is it all right if I go to London because I want to go to the semi-final? I think Everton were playing. And I think, Joey in London. So I said, no, there's a real chance you could be playing next week, so I don't want you going. Anyway, I get in Monday morning, I get a call. Joey had been to London, so that was my first test. Thinking, okay, how do I handle this? Do I get him in? Do I fine him? I thought, you know what? The best way is just let it ride. Just say nothing. I don't want to cause an argument or a fight. Anyway, he trained really well the whole week. So I said to him on the if it goes well, then there's a chance you'll start. So at Anfield, so I pulls him in on Thursday morning. I said, look, training's gone that well. If tomorrow goes well, you're going to start. Are you all right with that going to Anfield? He said, yeah, definitely. I'd love to. So we go to Anfield. We get absolutely battered, 3-0. They hit the bar 4 times, I think. So there's about 20 minutes left, and I looked and I said, look, we'll get Joey off. He hasn't played for a while. And a minute later, just as we're about to take him off, he snaps Xavi Alonso in half in front of the cop. Straight red card. That's him fucking suspended for the next 3 games. So I thought, you know what? I looked after him for the week, and that was it. I thought in the dressing room, that's it. I'm going to give him both barrels as the manager. So I went in there, and an almighty fight and argument broke out. And he walked out, and he never came home on the coach, and I never seen him again.
You had a scrap?
Well, not a scrap. I just told him what I thought, and he gave a bit back, and he walked out the dressing room, never came back in the dressing room. Don't know how he got home.
What did he say to you?
That was it. I said what I had to say, and he chucked a bottle of whatever it was across the dressing room, got up, walked out, and never seen him again. Oh. He was suspended for the next 3 games. I think, fucking hell, thanks very much.
It's like a rom-com, that. I thought you were going to come up with a happy ending.
There was no happy ending, as you know. Micah, what was he like with you? How did you get on with him?
I'm completely opposite to you. He was the nicest, most helpful person. I was only young coming into the team when Man City was, and he protected me from everything, even Danny Mills. And we've got to talk about Danny Mills just for a second. So, Danny Mills was the right back at Man City when I was there, and he had a bad injury with his knees or his ankle or whatever. And Nader Manua, who was also ahead of me, centre-back, right-back, could play the two positions. And I got in at right-back, and then he could never get back in. So he started being awkward to me, like being horrible. Oh, I'm not that good. And there was one time 2 years later, you know, when all the money came, was in the dressing room and was sat down, I was getting some treatment. It's about 2 or 3 years later. He knew the physios because I've dealt him all through his career at Man City. And he comes in front of everyone. Robinho was there, Alana was there, all the big hitters. And he said, "What the are you still doing here?" And I've never wanted to punch someone as much as that moment. And the worst thing is now, he lives in Harrogate, just down the road from me. But like, he pretends like he didn't treat me that way, so I don't acknowledge it and just pretend everything's all right.
Well, he knows now.
But really, but yeah, I hope he knows now. Make sure you send this direct to him. I want an apology ASAP. Because I'm not Little Meeks no more, I'm Big Meeks.
Well, I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that meeting. Fantastic. One from Evan Phillips, a question for all. If you went back and started your careers again, what position would you like to play? And it can't be the same as before. Because I think me and Alan would definitely have gone. I can't imagine playing anywhere else.
It has to be anywhere along the forward line. If it's not going to be centre forward, then it has to be somewhere else, because you have to score goals. There is not a better feeling in the world, whatever you do, than scoring a goal. Correct, Gary?
Absolutely. And it's funny, I had a conversation once with Michael Owen about this for a documentary I made way back. And we discussed that feeling and how it's irreplaceable in life. Now, even in what we do now, whether we're doing the podcast or whether we're working on Match of the Day or whatever, there is a camaraderie. You get that kind of same dressing room feel. It's smaller, but you can replace that, can't you? And the banter and all those things. But the one thing that you can't is that euphoric, joyous, magical explosion of different emotions that you get when you score a goal. And I said to Michael, because he trains horses, I said, what about when one of your horses wins a big race? Is that the equivalent? He went, it's still not even close.
I think there's a part of me that thinks there's why so many footballers after their career, they go chasing that drug, and the sooner and the quicker they realise they're never ever going to get a feeling like that, the better it is for themselves, because there's no point. Whatever you do in your life, whatever I've done, you're never going to get that feeling that you get of when you hit the back.
What about when you found your trainers in the car, though?
No, that was a big apology. That was. But yeah, you're not.
We better answer the question. We better answer the question.
For any position along the forward line for me, it has to be.
I'd probably go in the right wing. I actually played my first 30-odd games there for Leicester when I got in, because they saw something in me but couldn't get me in the position that I wanted to play in. And also I played there a whole season in Barcelona when Cruyff stuck me out wide. So, and it's quite easy. It's so much easier in some ways, because you just knock it and cross it, and knock it and cross it, and you have to chase back a bit. But apart from
Did you used to play for Barcelona?
Did you not? Were you not aware?
No, I was. Yeah. I forgot. I didn't.
Well, I must mention it more frequently then. Micah, where would you play?
I'll keep it nice and brief. I would go goalkeeper.
What? Well, you are loopy, so yeah.
I would just love that challenge of get past me, you know? Can you beat me? And just like giving it to strikers if I saved the penalty or anything like that. So I'm going to say goalkeeper.
Brilliant. We've got one from John, Jon. That could be a lot of people. What's the worst defeat and feeling you felt as a player?
Oh, FA Cup finals.
Yeah.
What you f***ing laughing at, Micah?
I'd go World Cup semi-final.
I bet, yeah.
That was absolutely heart-wrenching. The silence in the dressing room after the game was... it was just extraordinary, really. Very poignant.
Painful, isn't it?
It is so painful. It goes so close as well to lose on penalties. And I remember seeing poor Stuart Pearce was distraught and in tears, and Chris Waddle. And you couldn't say anything to them. You just put your arm on the shoulder and all that. And it was just so somber. And we're in that dressing room, and it just felt just so down. And then we got on... We got on the team bus after, and there was for the first time, they gave us a few beers, and they were going round, and we started driving. We had this thing during Italia 90 where we'd sing that song, doe, a deer, a female deer, and all that. I don't know why. It was Gazza and Waddle, I think, started it. And then we're on the coach, and we had a beer, and the bus started going back, and then you could just hear at the back of the bus, someone went, doe, a deer, a female deer. And then gradually everyone started to join in, and we all sang their song. And it actually I know this sounds pathetic, but it was actually quite emotional and quite teary, but it kind of brought that spirit together that we knew we'd done ourselves proud, but we hadn't quite made it.
Micah, you?
That's a sad story.
Well, we can't finish on a sad story, so cheer us up, Mike. Although it's a sad question, because
it is a sad question. Okay. 2007 qualifiers. England versus Croatia.
Oh, crikey.
All we need to do is draw the game and we go into the Euros. It's as simple as that. Croatia at home.
Goalkeeping error.
Scott Carson. And the team we had that day, I don't think we had any Rio, any John Terry. It was like a mixed bag team. Beckham was on the bench. It was all over the place. But we thought we could get a draw.
That was the Brolly game, wasn't it?
Wally with the Brolly. McLaren.
Yeah.
It was, that was terrible. I think my player rating after that game at best was a 2.
You were that good, bro.
But it was a 2, but I blame Scott Carson. I blame him. I'm sorry. He's at Man City now, taking all the accolades, getting the treble winners, and all that, medal after medal. And he cost me £1 million. He cost me £1 million sterling, not euros, not pesos, not francs. That was my bonus. Get to the Euros. So much appearances for England. You get more money on your contract for Man City.
Did you never play for England again?
I played, but I was a bit part player. As soon as Capello came in, yeah, I was one of the players who we...
You'd only have blown it in Ibiza, Micah.
But it would have been great.
You'd have got at least 2 nights out, wouldn't you?
Exactly.
For that. Well, that's slightly, I don't know if that's a cheerier note or not, but it's certainly amusing. That's it for today's episode. We'll be back on Friday, Premier League deadline day, where we have a very special guest coming on. We'll be joined by the one and only Fabrizio Romano to discuss all things transfers. But that's the end of this episode, and I feel a little bit sad, but... Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.